Brad, I need
Hello, everybody. This is Mas Macros podcast number 3, and the title of today's show is Trainers, Methods, and Rocket Science. And today, as the title of the show implies, we are talking about personal trainers, training methods, and the overcomplication of training methods. And I've been following bodybuilding and training in the gym for quite some time, and I've tried a few different routines. And me personally, every time I've gotten the best results in the gym was when I kept things as simple as possible. I'm not saying that I didn't have any thought to what I did or what I'm doing now, especially now where I think I'm becoming even more serious about this hobby as time goes on, and I realize that there's a little bit of time about this hobby and a window for it to make your best gains. And I am being a little wider in my training now and prioritizing certain body parts and paying more attention to mobility and keeping just in better condition overall. And when I say condition, I don't mean the condition of just what body fat percentage I am. I'm saying conditioning in general. I do some cardio. Most of my cardio work is outside, actual jogging. I do a lot of mobility drills, and I am prioritizing some muscle groups now that were neglected, I believe, in the past, trying to bring up my pecs, hamstrings, focus on exercise that I don't even like to do actually to get better. I'm more of a balanced body, a less injury prone body. But however, my routine is still pretty much simple, and all the guys that I look up to, the famous so-called gurus or writers, all have simple ways of looking at things. When I say that, I mean the guys like Dante Trudell, Paul Carter, Christian Thibodeau, Dorian Yates, Kirk Kowalski. These old guys, I mean, Kirk Kowalski was a powerlifter. He trained, if you look at his program, it looked like a bodybuilding program, actually, and he was one of the most strongest men in the world and trained pretty basic. And he probably could have given a couple of bodybuilders a run for their money. But, you know, in the past, ever since the internet explosion, the fitness explosion on the internet, YouTube, various websites, forums, there have been all kinds of training methodologies and as well as nutrition strategies, actually, that are just really complicated. And I'm here with my two pro friends, actually, WMBF Pro Stu Yellen and IFBB Pro Arash Rabar. And we're here to talk about this topic today. And what do you guys have to say about this? I mean, I believe that as simple as you could keep it is where you should have it. What do you think of all these training methodologies? I mean, when I look at the training methodologies that I'm fond of, I mean, I'm more of like an upper-lower split kind of guy, or any program that could give me, let's say, a training of each body part once every 4 to 5 days. If it's not going to be twice per week, and it would be a push-pull legs routine. But even the people that I look up to, their training looks the same almost. I mean, if you look at, let's say, the so-called Dante Trudell's dog crap routine, and you look at Lyle McDonald's generic bulking routine, aside from the number of sets, they almost look the same. I just, after a while, when you break it down, to me, it's all the same stuff, little differences. But to me, it's adding weight to the bar with the exercise that work for you. If you are some guy that's not responding to flat barbell bench press and you got big arms, you know, I don't have the biggest arms in the world, but I'm pretty arm dominant and I got a flat chest, so I focus mostly on dumbbells, dips, inclines, and the flat barbell bench press. I don't feel that much pec stimulation from it. I mean, I use my brain in my exercise selection, but that's not too complicated, is it?
I'll be honest, and I've said this before, and, most people don't like to hear this, but out of all the variables in, getting in shape and, getting ready for a contest or just getting into shape, the one variable that seems to be almost always overcomplicated seems to be the training program. Anyone who reads stuff online, some wonderful stuff by Brad Schoenfeld, where he outlines the different ways you can make a muscle grow. So there's a lot of ways to Rome, whether they say all roads lead to Rome, but as long as you're you're mechanical overload or you're getting some kind of the chemical changes that affect it. It's like I don't have the article in front of me, but it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. I think back to all the years I wasted when I first started training, doing what everyone else in the gym was doing, and really nothing was happening, or all the years I wasted trying to apply every single intensity technique I could find, or where I was training so infrequently because oh, I don't want to overtrain. If I train too much, I won't grow at all. I made my best gains where I picked some basic exercises. I didn't go to failure, but I made sure everything was quality. I made sure my diet was in place. And then you know what? The variable you can't control, time. You need to keep going. You're not putting on 5 pounds of muscle in a month. And if you understand that, if you understand you're in this for the long haul, uh, sometimes you just have to. Really, one of my favorite sayings is trust the process. Trust the I'm doing everything the right way, and let I don't want to say let the magic happen, but take it for the long ride. When I competed, what was I like 2 pounds, maybe 3 pounds heavier every year. Now that doesn't sound like much. You look at these photos; it's a different physique I brought to the stage every year, and as I went along, I simplified, simplified, and simplified. But that doesn't that doesn't sell articles or training programs.
Yeah, exactly.
Rosh?
Yeah, man, this is a great topic. For you beginners out there, whatever you do, even if it's wrong or ass backwards, you're going to grow. You're going to get bigger, you're going to get more muscular, you're going to grow. So after that first year, you really got to start dialing it in, picking the proper diet and the proper training routine. That being said, whatever training routine you choose, whether it be this guy's power bodybuilding or that guy's high rep or whatever the case may be, one big component that people are forgetting to implement is intensity. Whatever it is you're doing, if you're not doing it balls to the wall and intense, if you're not getting in a zone and something is clicking, you're not going to be at 100%. And if I can't tell if you're coming or going in the gym, if you look the same when you walked out as when you walked in, there's a problem. I look like I got hit by an 18-wheeler after my workouts. It's intense. Now, if you want to sit here and argue about one extra rep or set, or if we should do this angle at 10 degrees less or more, you're wasting your time. Just do it. Do whichever one, whether it be right or wrong. Do it as hard as you possibly can, and I promise you will benefit some way or another. Now, that being said, bodybuilding, for some reason, maybe it's just me, but I feel like it's lost its cool in society the way it was when Arnold was Mr. Olympia. And I think nowadays with the skinny jeans and the hipsters and all that stuff, people, the average guy doesn't want to be that big. I can respect that, no problem, no big deal. But regardless if you want to be jacked and striated, regardless if you want to compete as a bodybuilder or not, you cannot deny the fact that bodybuilders are experts at changing body composition. The whole entire fitness industry and even medical industry has learned about changes in body composition, putting on lean muscle mass and losing body fat from bodybuilders, from decades of trial and error. We are the experts at this, okay? Actors that want to put on some muscle for a movie, they implement what we've done. People that want to get in best shape, they implement what we've done. But lately, for some reason, guys and girls that want to look like the guys and girls in fitness magazines, they think they're going to get like that by doing some kind of fancy Pilates workout or stability training. I see this all the time. I was in Crunch Gym doing cardio, and there was a good 40 people in the gym all doing stability work. On their head with a kettlebell or standing on a ball, balancing their cell phone on the tip of their nose. Listen, it's great. It has its time and place. It's excellent for rehabilitation for people that have weak spots. And all in all, there's no issue with strengthening your core and having good balance and stability. If anything, someone that trains in stability work is going to be less likely to injure themselves when they apply that to bodybuilding or powerlifting. But these people come to these trainers, these people come to these gyms for what? Do they come there and say, hey, I want to have more balance when walking down the street or have stability? No, they want changes in body composition. And I'm sorry to break it to you, unless you're an absolute genetic freak or you're just training 10 hours a day with stability work, you're not going to have six-pack abs and and be fit and toned from just doing stability work. At the end of the day, a lot of the fitness models you see in the magazines, the physique guy look, for instance, right? You see that type of look, not huge, not bodybuilder, not muscular, just like a good amount of muscle and pretty toned, doing these fancy cables and stability work. And the fact of the matter is, he didn't get like that doing that. He got like that bodybuilding, old school bodybuilding. There's no secret to it. That's it. And don't be mistaken, for you people out there that are, trying to just get in shape, not trying to be a mass monster, you're not going to wake up huge. I've had girls tell me, I don't want to get too big. It's like people make it their goal to get too big and they can't do it for decades. You're not going to just get jacked by accident. Eat a good amount of protein, balanced diet, and lift. Push hard and train, and you will get where you want to get. You're not going to accidentally gain 40 pounds of muscle overnight. Believe me. And if you do, you belong in a lab somewhere to get tested on so we can extract whatever's in your bloodstream and shoot it up ourselves.
I got to say, you're talking about how, people get in shape, how they really get in shape, look a certain way. I remember, back in the day, I remember when I was in grad school. I'm not going to mention when. I'm old. The big thing back then were these exercise tapes. Some of you kids imagine DVDs, but in different shape. And big thing was the buns of steel. And I remember an ex-girlfriend of mine, she had her buns of steel tape. And I remember the woman's name, Tammy Lee Webb. And, every woman was running out and getting these exercise tapes. And did a little research, and I found out that Tammy Lee Webb was a former competitive bodybuilder. And here's this woman. She gets in shape doing a certain thing, but then she hawks some BS, makes a ton of money because women all run out. They all want the secret. And that's not how people got in shape. Brad, you were talking earlier, before we started recording this, about Tony Little.
Yes.
There was a guy, competitive bodybuilder, has a car accident. We all know the story from those horrible infomercials. And then suddenly he's back in shape. But let's face it, he didn't look in good shape after using all that crap. He looked in shape when he was a bodybuilder. And I mean that's I hate to say it, but what works is proven. There's no shortcuts. We know the type of exercise that builds muscle. We know the kind of diets that support it. It takes time. It takes hard work, and no magic infomercial or no personal trainers you're going to find at a gym are going to tell you, this is going to take you a good amount of time. You are going to have to bust your butt for, I'll throw out 6 months to really see a change in your physique. It took you years to get horribly out of shape. Now you got all these problems. You're not going to undo years of neglect and disuse and then, getting where you are now. You're not going to undo that in a few weeks. So they're going to give you the latest gimmick. They're going to give you something that makes you sweat so you think you worked hard. They're going to give you something that makes you a little sore tomorrow so you feel, wow, I had a really good workout. And, that's, I hate to, I don't want to throw the entire profession of personal trainers under the bus because there's some wonderful ones. But you walk into the average gym and, granted, someone's physique doesn't always convey how much they know, but if someone really, really knew how to be in shape, would they choose to look the way they do? And again, that's a very broad statement, and I'm sure, I'm sure the hate mail is going to come from that one. But you really got to ask yourself, why would this guy choose to look like this if he knew all the shortcuts? If he could get me in shape in 3 months, why does he look like that?
Right. I think that's a good point, actually. I mean, obviously, personal training is a job. Some people have done personal training part-time while they're doing something else, and there are other trainers who are full-time trainers. And I guess with anybody else, I've heard of personal trainers falling out of shape because, like any other job, the job becomes overwhelming when you have a packed schedule or with other obligations in life, and the personal trainer himself can get off track with his own training. I've heard that happen before, but I can see what you're saying, though, because people who have been in shape for years don't all of a sudden become out of shape. It takes,
I don't know.
Well, no, it would take some time. Meaning, if you could just fit in, let's say, 2 full body sessions and just keep your diet in check, and you had a decent physique for quite some time at a good fitness level, maybe your physique would regress a little bit, but or the visual appearance of you, but your fitness wouldn't go down the drain that fast if you just did the bare minimum to keep in shape. And Stu, next up we'll talk about, and Arash, you could chime in on this also, but I remember particularly talking to this about with Stu, is that the new trend of over information, and Arash, I'm sure you can relate to this as well, but over information to the point where it becomes over academic. And now it's like, I have a full-time job in healthcare as a registered dietitian. I've read more studies than I care to read. I don't particularly like reading study upon study, or about exercise physiology. My master's was in nutrition, exercise physiology, undergraduate nutrition. I went through dietetic internship. I'm working as a dietitian for quite some time. But even me, when I'm outside of this healthcare realm of nutrition, I don't really even care about discussing medical nutrition therapy, studies. I don't know what studies have to do with bodybuilding, actually. I mean, I don't want to discount them. I don't want to discount the actual science of nutrition totally, because that's where we got our information from. That's where bodybuilders got their information from to begin with. However, you and I see the trend of these guys. They're like almost like nerd trainers. They're constantly linking to a freaking study on their Facebook page. What is this going to do for people? I don't know what it's going to do. In fact, I believe that it overwhelms people who are outsiders and want to get in shape. And even for someone competing, do you think the average guy competing should even knows about the newest journal of nutrition and metabolism? Like what reference, like what year, what volume? To me, training and nutrition is simply manipulating how many calories or carbs, getting how much protein you need. If you got to do carb cycling, calorie cycling, you don't need to study to know how to do that. That's all the realm of what Arash was talking about. The bodybuilder is the expert, not the researcher per se. And Stu, what do you think of this trend of is it trying to look smart? I mean, how much information do we need? Even some of the top guys that are prep coaches do not have a nutrition-related degree. I mean, John Otis Hollywood is a clinical psychologist, and he's a great prep coach. What do you think?
Well, and I know we talked in an earlier show about social media and what it comes down to, how it changed the industry, and really everything has kind of shifted with that. I think what we're seeing is really, I guess, the idea of trying to create a persona, trying to create some kind of credibility by being, the guy to constantly quote the latest study, by constantly name dropping, the few names in the industry that most people look to who are doing the research, referring to, well, this guy said this, and this guy's in agreement, and what that means is, and you have people who, and I don't know if these guys have real jobs or, they're living in their parents' basement. They spend their entire day reading other people's breakdown, assessment of these studies, so then they can write their own articles. Like these guys are putting out like 4 articles a week. Their take on someone else's take. Usually the person's pretty smart on the latest study, but again, they're creating this persona. They're creating this this aura of credibility, so people will start to see them a certain way. And this is everywhere, man. I mean, this is YouTube. This is Facebook. This is huge on Facebook. This is we were talking earlier about how internet forums where you used to be able to interact and pick people's brains, and have the traffic has slowed, as what people do now is they create a Facebook group, and under the guise of we're here to discuss this. Well, the guy who created the group is now the guy trying to create that aura for himself, and it's a marketing tool. Again, I mean, I hate to reduce it to that, and I'm being very general in my assessment here, and this isn't for everyone. This isn't about everyone, but it's a marketing tool. You plain and simple.
All right, Rosh, what do you think of that?
Well, the wealthiest person I know is not the smartest person I know, and the smartest person I know is not the wealthiest person I know. Of course, you want to acquire a certain amount of knowledge, but if you can't apply that knowledge, that wisdom, if you can't put it to good use, it's worthless. Some of the most amazing athletes, amazing physiques I've seen on athletes, once sitting down with them and speaking with them, some, not all, but they're pretty stupid when it came to training.
Okay.
When it came to training and dieting, it might have just been, they just gave it their all. If I give someone a mediocre diet and training regime, but they believe that it's the training regime and diet of Dorian Yates, and they just believe in it, and they pour everything they have into it and give it their all, they're gonna get results. They're gonna grow. They're gonna get bigger. They're gonna get leaner. But if I give them Dorian or Ronnie's training routine or diet regime, but I tell them it's just Joe Schmoes and it's nothing special, and they don't believe in it and they don't follow it to a T, they're not going to get any results.
Well, dude, Dorian's training was pretty basic.
Yes,
Extremely basic, extremely basic and low volume. Look, it's not about right and wrong. Everybody reacts differently, and everything has its own place and time. I definitely train different from month to month, week to week. I listen to my body. I definitely do higher, much, much, much higher intensity, lower volume reps and sets in the off season. That being said, I always lift heavy. Even if I'm a little weaker, even if I'm dieting, I'm still lifting heavy for that time and place. It's not as heavy as when I'm, 20 pounds heavier in the off season and eating like a small cow. But the point is, no, it's not that complicated. You need to just, pick a routine, pick a diet, and start learning your body, how it affects you, how you feel, how you react to it. And to, have all these crazy theories and upside down workouts and all this stuff. I mean, I think, some of them might have some merit, and they might be worthwhile, but a lot of them are just silly. Why do people waste their time with it? I don't know. Maybe because it's easier to argue theories than actually put them to use and be in shape. How many people think about that guy that that's always arguing a new theory? Well, what's he look like? I bet you he's not big and ripped,
Right.
It's interesting with all the latest this and all these studies that break down such tiny minutia, just really stuff that the average trainer would not even think about. You look back to the bodybuilders of the 50s. These guys got pretty big. Obviously, the conditioning wasn't the same as it is now, and that's a matter of taste. It's not that they couldn't get that. It just that was the look then. If you had the knowledge base of guys in the 50s, and you can't build a physique equal to guys back then, George Eiferman, Armand Tanny, being able to quote the latest studies of really unimportant, tiny variables, that's not what's going to set you apart. That's not what's going to earn you that champion physique.
I totally agree. I think sometimes knowing less is a little bit better. I think guys nowadays worry so much about these little variables like muscle wasting. It's not really, muscle tissue doesn't evaporate. It's not that easy to lose muscle. Everyone's always so afraid to lose muscle, and they're just taking a ton of supplements and eating a ton of food all the time, and you have less conditioned athletes. Guys ate a lot less and did a lot more work, more cardio, and longer workouts. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Arnold and Franco used to run on the beach.
Yes.
Most people just walk on an incline on the treadmill, which technically isn't even walking. You're lifting your feet up and the band is going underneath you, and they're holding on for dear life, which is holding 30% of their body weight, and they're just I don't want to waste any muscle. Well, I mean, once you're diced to the bone, then you can talk to me about worrying about losing muscle. But when you're at 8% getting on stage, I mean, well, shit. I'd give up some muscle to lose some fat at that point, wouldn't you?
Right. I mean, I've even seen people on some forums that I'm part of, and these people do not compete. Everybody knows my take on taking this to such an extreme. If you're not going to compete, I can't relate per se. There are some guys out there. I remember, not just one example. Recently, many times over the years, guys saying, well, if I do this amount of cardio, if I take a jog here and there, am I going to lose muscle? I mean, I do a jog. I just jogged today before my friends came over. I jogged in the freezing cold here in New York City for 30 minutes on the street. And, I'm 200 pounds at 5'10", maybe not a behemoth, but certainly not skinny for 5'10". I know in internet land, anything below 220 is is small, but well, let's get to the bottom of this. Is that so? You've seen this trend. Well,
What? Where are we going with this?
where are we going with this? Okay, where am I going with this? Actually, we've seen this trend. What do you think of these guys who bash each other based on their different methodologies? We've seen like actual internet wars go on between to me. I think there's better things in life to fight about rather than like a training routine or a nutrition routine. But I don't get it really.
They're unemployed.
Look, you were saying before that one coach who, he's a clinical psychologist. There's very few people. I could count them. I'll say two hands. I'll be generous. Two hands that I actually, look up to and respect in the industry. And there's a lot of different, prep coaches out there. And most of the ones that, I actually would, give a tip of the hat to, like that guy's good, that guy's good. The majority of them have a real job. They're educated people. They're not people that grew up wanting to be bodybuilders or had failed careers and all they do is live online. It's like these are intelligent people. As I got more and more into bodybuilding, I'm still really really good friends with my old friend Scott, who was the guy who first dragged me to the gym when I was in college. And Scott, he was an attorney for years, very very big high profile attorney, and now he's an internet security expert, and he records videos that instruct other people. He's like one of the smartest people I know. And we talk about this, and he says, as you get older, compared to let's say in high school, where you get the guys that are who are just big and muscular, the guys that develop the really good physiques more often than not are the smart ones. They're the smart guys. They understand that when you're in the gym, it's gym time. The rest of the day, yeah, you eat when you eat. You can control what you're eating, and then the rest of the day is real life. You don't need to have a job that allows you to bodybuild. You don't have to spend all day on forums, or you're not hardcore. It can fit into your life. They have a proper outlook on how things work, and the people that need to stir stuff up, that need to constantly get attention, or like I was saying before, create this persona, this credibility, this for themselves. Look, I'm obviously going to look at it, with kind of a negative view because of, look, my own situation. I have a job that has nothing to do with, my coaching people on the side. We were talking earlier, when I was competing still, I'd win a contest on a Saturday. I'd come into work on Monday. I wouldn't tell anyone because no one really cared. They were like the one or two friends. They were like the one or two friends of mine at work, work friends. That I'd mention it to. They knew I had a contest coming up. They saw my cheeks, sinking in more and more leading up to the things. I like to think I had a healthy outlook on things. I didn't need to bash other people. I have my view on things. I know what works for me. I know what I believe works and recommend for my clients and people that I coach. And if someone else does things differently, if someone asks me, what do you think of this? I'll give them my opinion. Do I need to make a video and cry for attention and take swipes at other people? Come on, that's childish, man.
Right, exactly. But to me, I don't understand these internet wars that go on. People, there are some guys in particular who just love to rip on. Just you say the wrong sentence and you could be a contest guru or a coach. You say the wrong sentence and you get on the nerves of these two guys, and they certainly like to do a great deal of harassing other people based off of one statement that they didn't like, and they'll come up to after them with all this nerd stuff. And I think there are better things to do. And actually, some of the people that they're attacking are getting people in shape. Where these few guys are just sharing information and pushing information to and fro, basically. And, but even besides, you said that a lot of these people have other jobs besides being a fitness coach or contest prep guru. But there are several established gurus who are making a very nice living full-time. And some of them have gone to actually sue other coaches or personal trainers. Now, to me, I don't know how you could sue someone to tell someone else how to do a freaking bench press. Is there a copyright on telling someone to do a bench press? I don't know how you sue for that.
Well, you dropped the term prep coach. And it's interesting. I mean, I'm sure we've got a pretty wide audience with this podcast, but that's kind of a term. I mean, what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, would you have ever heard this term? I mean, it's kind of a weird term. It's not, it's not a certified personal trainer. It's not registered dietitian. It's not someone who got some, nutrition certificates or took nutrition classes in college. It's kind of a very, very fuzzy term, and it refers to preparation, getting ready for a contest, and you've got people prepping people for contests who have never done a contest themselves. You've got people prepping other people for contests who did one show. And maybe they took, fifth place in their Masters Novice Class E division, so that sounds pretty impressive to someone who doesn't know any better. You've got people doing this that actually have some credentials. You've got people that have no credentials but accidentally got in shape and now they think they know it all. You have people that they hired someone that knew what they were doing to coach them. They did their one contest, and now they think because they saw what their coach told them to do, now they know all the tricks. And now I'm taking clients, and I see this left and right. People do one contest, and now they're a coach. Look, we were chatting about this earlier. My God, when people started coming to me, and I'm very, very proud of my competition record. I kept thinking, well, there's people that know more than I do. There's people that know more than I do. My wife pointed out, no, you don't win as many shows as you did by accident. You actually do know what you're talking about. And, that's just through experience. That has nothing to do with all the college classes I took on coaching and nutrition and the certificates and all of the crap on the side. It's nuts out there. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it is providing some entertainment.
I think it's supply and demand. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, we didn't have quote unquote prep coaches, but guys talked to each other. They shared their diets and their training. They bounced off ideas off one another, and sometimes there was somebody in the background, maybe an older friend or somebody that did compete or that would take a look at them and give them their 2 cents, and then. That evolved, and now that the sport is so much mainstream, and there's so many more people, especially beginners, people that don't have years of reading and trial and error in bodybuilding, they need a coach. There's people that open a magazine, see a bikini or a physique competitor, and all of a sudden within 6 months they're on stage. So yes, someone like that needs some guidance, and then the birth of these prep coaches we're talking about, every corner you turn, there's a new prep coach. I think being a prep coach, what is being a prep coach? Like Stu hit the nail on the head. It's a fuzzy, there's some prep coaches that have some degrees in fitness and nutrition. There's a lot that don't. I think you have to have a good amount of knowledge and maybe even experience in competing. And that being put aside, you have to have experience with various people. And, not everybody reacts the same to the same exact diet. The diet that got you shredded might not work for the other guy, And also you have to have an eye. You have to see the changes in your client's physique, which is most of the time through pictures on email. You have to see why they look the way they look, how that extra 20 minutes of cardio affected them, that extra meal of white rice or the meal of yams you took out, and so on and so forth. It is a science. And it's not just saying, oh, you need this many calories for your body weight and this much cardio and you'll be fine. The person might be walking an extra 2 miles throughout the day for work that you don't know about. There might be some stresses or some different things in their lives. And you have to look at their body, listen to their body, and figure how their body is being triggered by certain things and act accordingly. And that's, in my opinion, what makes a good prep coach.
Right. I agree with all that. Thank you for the information, guys. Now, as for training methods, what do you suggest? I mean, Stu, you said that you, for most people, you like to have them on a split that's hitting every body part once every 4 or 5 days, right? With a blend of compound exercises and isolation exercises. I mean, obviously it depends on the person's experience, what they have to bring up, right?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Obviously, you always want to assess, where someone's starting at. I mean, the longer I've been doing this, the longer my new client questionnaire has gotten. Because you really need to, anyone who just gives you a plan and a diet without first understanding where you're at right now, that's not someone you want to be working with. If you are actually trying to build a symmetrical physique, even if you're not going to compete, you need to know where your weak points are, and not just from an aesthetic point of view, but so as you're not creating a muscular imbalance that could actually lead to injuries later. And that's something, no one pointed out to me when I started training. And, I'm lucky that, I have the support of my brother, who's a doctor of physical therapy, and, always kind of gave me the heads up and, hey, idiot, don't do that because this is what can happen. And, that's very important. My personal experience, I went through the train every body part once a week, destroy it, let it recover. I went through the train every body part twice a week, and not as much volume, and the more the higher frequency will give you the gains you need. And eventually, I found out that it's like, all right, I could probably get by hitting everything 1.5 times a week. Where you end up hitting everything 3 times in every 2 weeks, because we like to think in terms of a 7-day cycle there. Human body doesn't think in terms of a 7-day cycle. It thinks in terms of, how fast can I recover, not just the particular muscle group, but, the entire body from the stresses that I'm subjecting it to, and how much time do I need to actually make progress before I deliver a sufficient beating to the same area. And some people will recover faster. Some people will recover slower. It's a lot to juggle, and like Arash was saying, it's like a good coach will pay attention, will track variables, will, detect patterns, will figure out what works for each individual. There is no one size fits all, we like to say that the human body is very, very similar, and there are certain scientific truths, and that is true. But there is also a certain amount of leeway, of variance, of variety that you have to take into account when you are working with different people.
I completely agree with Stu as far as the training. I did exactly the same thing. I annihilated every muscle once a week for years. That's what I did. And then for a while, I tried the twice a week. It didn't work out too well for me. And now I do the 1.5 times. It kind of works out to I'm training my body more frequently. I don't look at my body as my training with a 7-day split. I just pretty much train, and I go by feel. And when I feel like I need rest, I take rest. I can hit my legs more often. I notice even with the walking around and the cardio, they can take more of a beating. That being said, I don't back squat or front squat. Stu gave me a great leg workout, leg split, where one day I'm doing front squat, back squat, some hams, some extensions. The other day I'm doing hack squat, leg press, and then stiff-legged deads, different style of hamstring work, and it's working great for me. I see more growth, and I'm recovering fine. I might be a little bit sore, a little tender, but once I get warmed up and get some blood in the area, it works fine.
Yeah, that Stu guy knows what he's talking about.
He's okay on certain things, but it's all relative. People ask me, "Oh, do you think I should hit this muscle group twice a week?" Well, shit. How much are you eating? How much are you sleeping? It all depends. I mean, if you're working crazy hours and you're not sleeping a lot, and your diet is really, be honest with yourself, your diet's really not that great, no, you shouldn't hit things twice because you're not going to recover. That being said, bodybuilders don't have to train one muscle once a week. There's no rule to that. If you're going to annihilate the muscle, yes, it needs more time to rest. But a good example that I tell people on this topic is some of the nicest physiques in the world belong to gymnasts. And gymnasts hit every single muscle every single day. It's just not weighted. It's body weight, and they recover from it. They recover quick from it, and they hit it again, and they hit it again. And they have some of the most amazing physiques I've ever seen. So, take that and work around it. I mean, if you do lighter work and you hit everything more frequently, you're not going to get as big, because we know heavy weight and blunt force trauma, which I firmly believe in, will give you the most size and the most growth, especially if you're drug free. I've tried higher volume, time under tension, supersets, drop sets. I've tried everything, and everything has its time and place, and there is a lot of good to be found in every different routine. But for me personally, blunt force trauma, super heavy weight with adequate warm up, of course, and acclimating to the heavy weight is really the only thing that made a difference in my physique. Put on slabs of muscle. Anything else was just maintaining what I already had.
Brad?
Yeah, well, I definitely, see what everybody's saying here, Arash, what Stu has to say, and I agree with this, is that also when you did pick up a trainer, I mean, we plan on educating a diverse group of people out there. We are focusing on bodybuilding, but you might just be someone who just likes keeping in shape. That's building the body, but that is not bodybuilding it's really the pursuit of the most aesthetically pleasing physique, which is another level of bodybuilding. I mean, there's recreational bodybuilding, keeping in shape, and then there's bodybuilding the way we're talking about it sometimes here. And you have to weigh out, if you're just a regular person who wants to keep in shape, it does not take that much time in the gym, actually. You could get a decent body with, let's say, 3 sessions per week, some added cardio, conditioning, some weekend warrior activity, and get a decent body, actually. You might not even have to do that many isolation exercises. You could actually just do, let's say, an upper body workout that consists of, let's say, a horizontal push like a bench press variation, a dumbbell or barbell or machine press, overhead press, a row variation, a chin up or lat pull down variation, a curl, a tricep extension, and do a few sets of those and call it a day, and keep the basics for the legs and just alternate between those 2 sessions for 3 times per week and get a good body. The more you do use up your resources with other things, such as, let's say, a full-time job that has many hours, not just a 40-hour week. There are plenty of people who work up to 60 hours a week. Throw on top of that family obligations, possibly a kid, maybe not the best nutrition that, let's say, a bodybuilder, a passionate bodybuilder has, and you have to weigh out what's going on with your training and what you can handle. And educate yourself on the information out there for, let's say, an average person, a competitive bodybuilder. If you want to look a certain way, someone wants to look like a competitive bodybuilder but not compete, train like a competitive bodybuilder. You want to look like an MMA guy, train like an MMA guy. If you want to be a regular guy who's, quote, in shape, train for that then. Just know what you can handle and what your goal is. And I think this is pretty important, actually. And map out a plan and get the appropriate information. And if you have to hire a trainer, get a good one. And the bottom line is that I want to, give to you, anybody who's listening, is not to become bombarded with this information that is so prolific on the internet these days. Read some things. Maybe if you want to get an idea of how to go about your goal in a few different ways, slightly different ways, read up on that. See the commonalities for your goal. If your goal is to be an in-shape weekend warrior, read up on that kind of information. Bodybuilding, read it for that bodybuilding. Read for powerlifting. Most of the different aims are going to have the same template when you break it down in many cases, actually, as I said before. The templates for each goal, whether it's powerlifting, bodybuilding, or weekend warrior shape, is going to be similar. So just take it from there, keep with it, and that's it. And, me personally, I watch these internet wars for entertainment. I find them kind of humorous, and I can't help but observe them because of the media that I'm exposed to. And I hope the information that we offered you today hits home and it could be useful for you. And we're going to wrap this up. Bottom line, it's not rocket science. Be careful who you pay attention to. And that's it. Have a good day.